Am I the asshole for giving my graduation ticket to my stepmom and introducing her as my parent? My 18M dad, 36M, high school GF, Melanie, 36F, had me when they were 18. My dad asks if they could get a termination as he had dreams of going to college. Melanie was Baptist, so she said no. Dad said okay as it was her decision, decided to drop college and start a family. When I was 6 months old, Melanie said this wasn't the life she wanted, had a breakdown, dumped me on Dad and moved. My dad's parents and my dad looked after me, while my dad attended a smaller college in state. Soon, he met Anita, an Indian exchange student, and by the time I was 2, they were married. By the way, Dad is white and so is Melanie, so obviously I am too. When they graduated, we moved to our current state, and Dad and Anita did PhDs. They're both profs in my state's Ivy College, and I have a brother Peter aged 8. I put stepmom in quotes because ever since I could talk I called Anita mom, and she was always my mom. She loves me, never showed any difference in affection towards me and Peter, and is my best friend. Last year Melanie got in touch as she moved to my state. She had a husband and 2 kids, Peter's age. She kept inviting me around, asking me to do stuff with her and my siblings, and sometimes I'd say yes, but I didn't care about her as she never cared till I was 17. Sorry if that sounds rude. She asked if I could call her mom also. I declined. She seemed okay if a little pissed. I did well in school, and got a state award and a full college ride for next year. The ceremony was last week. I got 3 free tickets. Anyone else who wanted to come had to pay $25 each. I gave the tickets to Dad, Anita, and Peter. Melanie was offended, and asked why I couldn't give her one and my parents pay for Peter. I said no. So she paid for her, her kids, and husband to come. In my speech I thanked my parents for helping me with schoolwork, and joked that I picked a college far away as they taught in ours. Afterwards, an official asked which were my parents to congratulate them, assuming it was Dad and Melanie. Fair, since I am white. I said no, that Dad and Anita were my parents, so he congratulated them. Melanie started crying after the event, telling me how insulting it was for me to say Anita was my parent, and how it looks awful for me to keep saying that an Indian lady was my mom. Even though everyone knows that's not true, Dad whisked us off. But Melanie has been posting on Facebook about brainwashed, children of divorce and elitists, looking down on people who didn't go to college. Reddit, was I horrible? I know it seems rude to say Anita is my parent and ignore Melanie, but in that context, and all contexts, I wanted Anita to get the credit because she was the college professor and she helped me with school, even more than Dad as she did the humanities, where I struggled. Also, Melanie and my dad were never married. Is this normal? Must I call her mom too just because we are the same race, so people don't look at us weird? Have I embarrassed her in public? Please help. Edit. Nobody has ever looked at us weird, by the way, and nothing has made me feel insecure about not being Anita's race. I see her as my mom and always have, and while people sometimes get confused, they catch on quite fast as my state is quite diverse, so multiracial families are common. Anita is your mother. She may not have given birth to you, but she has done the rest. Her ethnicity is entirely irrelevant. People can be wonderful parents to kids who don't look like them. There is a whiff of racism in Melanie's comment. Melanie bailed on you as a baby. She has not done the work to raise you. She is not your parent and takes none of the credit for the man you have become. Her social media whining is the icing on top. You do not have to call her mom. Congratulations on your success. Your parents must be proud. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You might want to correct the Facebook account. You don't look down on her because she didn't go to college. You look down on her because she completely abandoned you at the age of 6 months and was completely out of your life for the next 16 years. There is no world where you would be an a-hole, not the asshole. She left your life and is trying to now be a mother once you're grown. No, just no. Being a mother or father is more than blood. Anita is your mom because she was there for you throughout your life, good or bad times. Anyone who tells you she ain't your mom is full of it. Probably best to limit contact with your bio mom, she's clearly still unstable. Not the asshole. A mother is someone who's there, Anita is that one. Not the asshole. I have no earthly idea why you even entertain that landlord you had 18 years ago. You seem nice. Am I the asshole for leaving the house for 5 minutes while I had chili simmering? So yesterday I was meal prepping a week's worth of chili for myself and my girlfriend, roughly 2 gallons, in a huge wok at my home. While putting in the last few ingredients, I realized I was missing chipotle peppers and Fritos, two things that I love putting in my chili. Since there's a grocery store across the street from my neighborhood, GPS says 0.2 miles from my house, literally a 1-minute drive, I decided to leave the chili on the stove at the lowest heat and go and grab the missing ingredients quickly. I was back home within 5 minutes of leaving. When I left, one of my roommates was at home and I told him I was running to the store for a second and that I had chili simmering on the stove. My other roommate was gone all day with his girlfriend. When I get back home, I'm immediately barraged at the door by my other roommate's girlfriend, who arrived just a minute before me, screaming about how ridiculous it was of me to leave the stove on unattended. I tried calmly explaining to her that I left right before she got there, and was only gone for 5 minutes. I also calmly explained that I was simmering pounds of chili, and that with how much food there was in the wok, and how low the heat was, it would have taken a day and a half before it dried out and became a fire hazard. She didn't care one bit and still yelled at me like a pissed-off mother reprimanding a child. I expressed that I wasn't okay with her yelling at me, especially in my house, and making demands as if she owned the place. Immediately she deflected and made it about how her dog could have been there by himself and could have been hurt if the house caught on fire. Her dog wasn't there. Also, my house isn't a daycare center for her dog. I told her I've made chili dozens of times and I've always left it on simmer unattended for hours and hours at a time, mixing it occasionally, and I knew what I was doing. I also made a point that my pet parrot was at home while I left to the store, and that if I thought leaving chili on simmer for a few minutes would be a fire hazard, I wouldn't have done that. Birds are extremely sensitive to fumes and smoke, so much that coal miners would bring them into mines to give ample warning if there were toxins in the air. I told her I would understand her being upset if I did this at her house without permission, but I did this at mine. I also said that it would be different if I left with the stove on max, like if I were searing a steak or something, but this is chili, one of the few foods you leave to cook all day on the lowest heat possible. Long story short, she blows up and throws a tantrum while saying some less than nice things to me. The next day I overhear her on the phone with my roommate basically talking shit about how I can't take accountability for anything. I'm an asshole, ECT. Do people actually stand around in the kitchen for 6 hours staring at chili while it simmers? Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. It's not a fire hazard in that situation. It's not her house. It's not her place to yell at you like that. Not the asshole. It's not her house, and while it was slightly more dangerous to leave the house with it cooking than just being around the house, but not watching it, while it was cooking, you have experience doing this and were only gone a few minutes. That said, 2 people are going to eat 2 gallons of chili in 1 week. Are you sure that's wise? Not the asshole, but you should talk to your roommate about his girlfriend making you uncomfortable. It's just as much your house as his, I assume. IDK what the rent, financial situation is. And this is a ridiculous overreaction on both their parts. Info. Did you point out to her that it wasn't unattended? Someone present knew about it. That's no different than you being there, as far as safety goes. Maybe I misread, but that seems absent from your description. Not the asshole. She overstepped in a big way. Am I the asshole for not wanting my family to spend holidays with wife's parents? I, 27 meters, refuse to agree to travel to my wife's, 25 female, parents for Christmas. I posted here once about 2 years ago and Reddit tore me apart, but hopefully this time my perspective can be seen a little better since it's regarding a different type of issue. Anyway, my girl and I have always split Christmas with each of our families. 1 year we spend Christmas with my folk, the next with hers. You know the deal. The issue is that her parents live in a different province than we do. My family lives a couple hours drive, hers lives 4 hours plane ride. So she pretty much only sees them once every other year on account of how costly and time-consuming it is to travel that far. We had a son a couple years ago and he's never spent a Christmas with my wife, family. My parents got a double Christmas with him because we traveled there last year for her sister's wedding, so I wasn't really interested in traveling again for Christmas. Technically that makes this Christmas my parents' turn again, but more so than that my wife is pregnant with our second child. She'll be 7.5 months along by the time the holidays roll around, and because of that I said it wasn't smart for us to fly. We've been arguing about it on and off for weeks now and I've been getting mixed opinions from friends and family. My family agrees with me, a few friends have mixed opinions and her family thinks I'm being a completely selfish, like looking out for my wife's health is selfish. The arguments about this are escalating to her just pointing out or bringing up every example of me doing something she thinks is wrong. It's getting on my nerves because 1. The whole trip will be paid for on my dime, so I should get a say in how I want to spend my paychecks. 2. Not wanting to travel when she'll be that heavily pregnant has nothing to do with how many chores I do or how often I help with our kid. 3. I'm literally just thinking about her and our new baby. 4. If something happens and she gives birth over the holidays, what are we meant to do? Spend a whole month extra out there? I'm getting so tired of these arguments I'm almost tempted to just say I'm not participating in Christmas at all this year. I won't, obviously, because my son deserves gifts and festivities and all. But the temptation is there. Anyway, am I being the asshole here by not agreeing to travel for Christmas, or is she being the asshole by trying to push something I'm uncomfortable with? Edit. Just seeing a lot of people asking for same bits of info. 1. Why can't her parents just travel to you? They can if they want to. I'll even pay for it. But only her parents. She has multiple siblings who split holidays the same way we do. They've all arranged to spend Christmas with her parents this year. So if her parents want to miss the Christmas with them and spend it with us, then I will accommodate that, but her siblings, their spouses and their kids can either pay for themselves or change their plans. 2. Your dime? Your paycheck? Yeah, a trip like this isn't cheap, and spending so much money on a trip that may not even happen that heavily pregnant is a valid concern. I'm a sole provider and it would ruin the holidays for me if I spent thousands of dollars just for something to happen right before or during Christmas. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and opinions. I'll think about all that I've read. In regards to the whole, it's on my dime, and the fact that you acknowledged she rarely gets to see her family but act like that's nothing, YTA. The cost and such are valid concerns, however you're being a dick and just telling your wife how you want things. Come up with a few solutions, like what others have suggested, and bring wife's family to you, and stop being a controlling prat. Info. What does her doctor say about her traveling for Christmas? You are the asshole. I was divided right up until you said, it is on my dime, and I should get a say on how we spend my paychecks. Your wife hasn't seen her family in several years. She hasn't been able to introduce your son to her family, and just an FYI. Your wife is pregnant, not incapacitated to make decisions on her own health. You, in the meantime, have spent time with your family. They have met and have a relationship with your child. If you love her and want what's best for her, you should be thinking about how you can reconnect her with her family at a time when she will be really feeling their absence, not stomping your feet. Info. Can her parents come around to yours? You are the asshole. And it's not your dime, it's both your dimes. End of. And if you keep this way of thinking up, it won't end well. Am I the asshole for kicking out my daughter for what she said about my brother? For context, my brother, L, 31, is disabled. He was born with a condition that made him born without a chin, jaw. He is genuinely my 40F best friend. Our mother died last month. It hit L the hardest because she was his carer. She had cancer, so we had time to discuss any wishes that my mother had. One of them was that when she died I let my brother live with me. I agreed. I got an extension added onto the side of our house for my brother, so he would have his own space and I could always look out for him. Our family has always been close with L. He would stay with us when my mother was away. My son, 11, adores him and they're always doing fun things together like sports and gaming. I also thought my daughter B, 20, got along with L. They often have Mario Kart tournaments together and L has even convinced me and my husband to give her a bit more independence. 2 nights ago B came home late from a party with her friend. I always stay up when B is out to make sure she got home okay. I heard her come into the house with her friend and I heard B say, "We need to be quiet so we don't wake my slur uncle up." I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. Me and my husband have never raised our kids to say such things. That comment just took me back to when me and L were younger and me defending him against all the horrible people that would stare and make fun of him. I got up out of bed and I asked my daughter to repeat what she said. I could tell from the look on her face that she didn't think I'd hear that. I asked how she could say something so cruel about her own uncle. That this is not how she was raised and at 20 she should know how awful that is. And if she thought saying that to her friend made her look cool, she was wrong. That she made herself look like an insecure bully. She didn't apologize, she just said that nobody was meant to hear that and it's not a big deal. I asked B's friend if her parents are okay with her having friends stay over. She said yes, so I told B to leave and stay at her friend's house. B said I'm meant to take her side, that I'm her mother, I told her I have been L's sister longer than I've been a mother. B didn't think I was serious. I've always been a calm parent and I have never told her to leave the house before. I had every intention of having B back home, but she needed to learn a lesson that I meant that behavior would not be tolerated. I apologized to B's friend for being in the middle and I gave her cash to cover the cab to her house. I called B yesterday, hoping she understood how out of line she was. She didn't. She was unhappy that I took L's side over hers. I told her to come home so we could discuss this properly, but she refused. I have been in touch with her friend and B is still staying with her, so at least she's safe. My husband said I was too harsh, but there's still that protective big sister rage in me. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole for defending your brother, but your daughter is an adult. She doesn't have to come home. Not the asshole. I think she understands it but is still too proud to accept what she said was wrong. Give her couple of weeks and month and it will sink into some time. Slurs are absolutely never okay. Not the asshole. She had to learn hard lessons about boundaries and crossing them. You're doing the right thing by not enabling poor behavior. Not the asshole. She's 20 years old and the fact that she knowingly said it because she wouldn't be heard indicates she knows she shouldn't have said and that she's wrong.